Hi guys, and welcome to Blasters and Broomsticks. We're your host Dan and Grant. How you doing, mate?
I'm very good, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, not bad at all, pal. Thank you very much. So, for everyone who's listening, today we're going to be doing Bloodthirsty. It's a new horror. It's pretty recent. 2020, I think.
Yes, yeah.
Yes,
It's
2020.
just
Yeah.
getting like released to various places now, isn't it? Last
Yeah,
month or so, people
yeah.
are tuning in.
So the basic story: Gray is an indie singer who is having visions that she's a wolf. When she gets an invitation to work with notorious music producer Vaughan Daniels at his remote studio in the woods, she begins to find out who she really is. So, Buddy, Bloodthirsty, what did you think?
Ooh. This is one that I didn't enjoy as much as I was hoping to or thought that I would. It's got some very interesting ideas, and I do think the film's shot quite beautifully. But I also I also think it's kind of one of those films that it doesn't. I don't know whether it's like the people that have made the film, the filmmakers, the crew and stuff, have kind of almost like want to make a character kind of study film, and the only way they've been able to make their script is if it's kind of like touches into the horror genre, so it doesn't to me fully embrace that, and it comes across a little bit flimsy in places. And saying that, I'd still watch it, though I'm still glad I watched it. So there is some very good redeeming factors, but yeah, that's the first like kind of thoughts that were swirling around my head after I'd finished watching the film. What about yourself?
I've really enjoyed it. I thought it was different. I thought they tried to sort of not again reinvent the wheel, but I suppose in the same way that Ware looked at the werewolf mythos in a
Mm-hmm.
different sort of way. I think it had a couple of issues as well. I think the girlfriend character Charlie, I don't think she was as sort of engaging as the rest of the cast. I feel like it was almost they could have easily done Gray's story without Charlie needing to be there. I don't think she added anything to other than the sort of relationship drama. Um, but I feel like I kind of feel like she was only there to let the audience know that Gray wasn't acting herself.
I also think that she's there so that the audience can go, yes, Grey's a lesbian,
Mm,
so that we can then look at it and go, this might not be like a seduction piece from Vaughan. It's
yeah,
more. There's more to that dynamic. It's not like sexual per
yeah,
se.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
And again, I think I wouldn't have this bit sort of later on, but I wouldn't have probably gone down the transformation route, sort of the makeup uh, for Gray
Mm.
later on. I think that's yeah. I think I probably would have kept things a little bit more ambiguous. Um, but
Yeah.
having said that, I think I said I really enjoyed the writing. I thought the music was great. I think for a film that touts itself as the main star being a believable singer in real life, to
Mm-hmm.
have had a hit album and working
Mm-hmm.
on a second one, I think they've chosen someone who not only can sing, but they've written songs that are actually pretty good.
Mm.
Not sort of fluff pieces or anything. Um, and the way they do the sort of like the hallucinations. We sort of we start off. She's already having these hallucinations. It's sort of long nails and yellow eyes, um, and she's seeing a great Lauren Beatty. She's seeing a psychiatrist, um, Michael Ironside, which was really nice to see. He's not in it long, but
Beautifully,
yeah,
surprised by it, but underused and
yeah,
undervalued.
yeah. Who sort of gets her to take some medication. Let's get rid of these
Mm-hmm.
hallucinations. Just as she gets an invite to work with Vaughan Daniels, who's played by Greg Brick. He's great, isn't he? He's
I
standout
was
performance in it.
Yeah, I was saying to you that a lot of people probably know Greg Brick from his little cameos in Saw, and there's a few other, like, I think he's actually in a werewolf series called Bitten, I believe, as well. But he came to my knowledge through Far Cry 5, and it was really where they put on such a huge marketing campaign, and he played like the cult leader of Evans Gate, that everyone was going to be judged and was going to all die in a nuclear war, which actually happens to pass in the game at the end. And I can remember playing the game and thinking, I actually don't want to do anything. I actually want to follow him. So it's nice to see that you've got somebody who's clearly charismatic, and the film's been able to draw that out of him again, been able to get another performance like that from him. Yeah,
that's great. I mean, it's sort of, he sort of invites her to make a next album, but there is, there's been a death with one of his previous acts, as in she died sort of under mysterious circumstances. He was tried but acquitted for a murder. So there's a sort of dubious nature to him, and when we do meet him, the girls take a drive out into the middle of nowhere, and when they do meet him, he's off. He's, they class him as being eccentric, but he's eccentric plus, isn't he? Obviously, sort of the film passes on. He's sort of more aware of, her potential nature. We do get to find out why, without sort of going into too much sort of spoiler territory. But I think the film, the key to the film, for the enjoyment that I got out of it, and the success for me, was the relationship between Gray and Vaughn. Mm-hmm. I think their interplay, whether it be him challenging her on her music and challenging her on her songs, and to really dig deep into her own belief, to being a bit of a cunt to her.
Well, it's kind of a Werewolf Whiplash.
yeah, essentially, yeah. But I just felt that worked, and there's sort of like there's little bits where, like the running sequence. You say you've got to really sort of a good exercise, and that is to run and just keep running until you can't. Your lungs are about to give out, your legs are going to give out, you can't take any more. And she does, but then he appears right next to her, completely, and it doesn't telegraph. There's something weird about him. You might just think, oh, he's eccentric, so he might have just, took a snowmobile, an electric silent snowmobile, to get next to her. But obviously, you get the impression that there's something not quite right with him, and I think, Greg really seems to enjoy that role. I think he really seems to. He seems to get a kick out of playing a bit of an arsehole.
Yeah, no, absolutely. For me, he is the enjoyable factor for me. It didn't quite work as well for me as what it did for you. I really do appreciate what it tried to do. I think you're at a great point about Gray's girlfriend. Absolutely. But I also think that I didn't think the main character, Gray, I didn't think she was quite as strong as she needed to be. Now, I don't know whether to put that down to the actress. I think like her singing parts in the studio were great. Mm. I think she was believable, weren't she?
Yeah.
She was great. But I don't know whether it's just because I thought the relationship was not really there with the girlfriend, that I just thought it came across a little bit schlocky, like a little bit like CW kind of romance, and they never really felt like there was never any joke, was there? It was kind of like a first draft of a script where you'd go, right, this is what we want in there, but you can like beef up the dialogue and then add in some like banter and real life talk and stuff, and it just kind of was it's almost like they knew it wasn't the strongest part, so it was like over as quickly as they could.
I'd agree with that. I'd say that I think the issue, any issues that I do have, I think seem to be the script, and that's not to say it's because I enjoyed it, but I think there was so much concentration on the script to get Vaughn and Gray's dialect great that I think other people suffered for
And
it.
I think,
And that's not
yeah,
down to not the actresses, because sorry to interrupt, I was just going to say
no, that's fine.
but Lauren Beatty and Catherine King So, and Catherine King So, she's great.
Mm.
I just feel like she hasn't. That's the thing. What let me down about her is that I don't think they give her enough to work with.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think she could have completely have. I think the film could have started with those two having an argument about this, so she fucks off on her own to go and see him,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that would have worked
yeah.
much
Even if
better.
she turned up later on, she'd had time
Yeah,
to calm down a bit and turned
yeah,
up, and then that'd work in Vaughn's favour, because even though he's quite he's a dick towards her, that the genesis of that would be that she's come and interrupted his sessions, and so it could have gone a different way and still and had a the same or a better outcome.
and I will say one of the things that I quite liked was his housekeeper slash maid.
Mm.
Is it Vera? Like, I thought she was quite threatening, almost like a Renfield character.
Yes,
Yeah, I thought
it
she was
worked
quite.
quite sure. I mean, the scene with the hitchhiker, I thought it was good because we get to the point where we're sort of saying, we obviously know there's something more about Vaughn than what's caught, what's led to believe, and he sends the maid out to grab him a hitchhiker. But what I did like was, did you see the name of the village she was holding up for the sign?
No.
East Proctor, which was the village in American Welfare in London.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was a nice little
Brilliant.
nod.
I think for me, I look at like The Wolf of Snow Hollow,
Mhm.
and where two films that took it in completely different directions but tried to change it. I don't think this film took I think like its left foot was like in werewolf camp,
Yeah.
and its right foot was trying not to be. And I get sometimes you want to kind of do something different, but for me, it never really. It needed to pull out more and concentrate elsewhere. Like you said, no kind of scene where she's left to transform. And maybe show you a little bit more about her mindset and him like wanting more. And I mean, because the shot of him when he's in his like big coat with fur coat and he's got blood around his mouth, it's great.
Yeah,
I don't need to see any big transformation from him. We know he's wild and animalistic, so that's really good. But also on the other hand, if they needed to do that, they needed to go more and embrace it more. In my opinion, I think they were like caught like flat-footed, not really wanting to do either, and ended up a little bit watered down for me. But I did appreciate, again, and I'll always back the fact that I'll always give a film like this a watch, and even afterwards I can be frustrated and maybe not have enjoyed it, but I can appreciate it, and I'd rather watch something like this than the 9,000 Saw sequel or something.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that's the thing for me. I think it could have just. I think the transformation when he locks her in the sound booth, and there's a very quick transformation, and it kind of. I think it put me out because it reminded me of the very, very early days of like Oz's makeup in Buffy, which I was never massively taken with, but not that that it bothered me or anything. I just felt like you said, if the majority of the time we see Vaughn, he is Vaughn, like you said, big fur collared coat, which gives him that sort of like saber tooth look.
Yes.
From the comics, but then the blood plays in that, and I think they could have maybe made it better if they'd gone down the lycanthropy sort of route as a mental illness, and that it's a familial thing, and if they'd done that as a mental illness, and that they firmly believe that they were werewolves. I mean, you can look at, oh well, that's what Ware did, but Ware did do it was sort of almost a transformation that it was a virus. It was there was something more. It was an illness that got getting passed on. Whereas if they'd gone down the route of this being a mental illness and just a mental illness, I think that could have been just as interesting.
And Ware was good because it also gave the visual like representation of the character, the main werewolf. His long shaggy hair, huge. and then we got the other guy that completely transformed and went completely hairless
Yeah.
to fight, and so we kind of got two extremes there going, and you know, so that satisfied like our visual senses for that film, whereas this was like again stuck in between a little bit. And yeah, I get you with the transformation. I always there's always a clip of Seth Green changing, and he had his hands long and his black eyes and his big teeth, and I always thought in some scenes it was great, in some it wasn't, because it was clearly we can never do a full transformation, so we'll catch him at the beginning and then we'll have the costume after. This was just kind of like a build up, and that to me, that's the very first that you see, and like you said, it's almost like that's the end result. Yeah, I think it was kind of, that's where I feel like it just didn't embrace it, almost like they either just weren't quite sure what they wanted to tell. Like you were saying, like I think that's a great idea about going down the mental illness route, then having them just act wild, walk on all fours, like scampering around, very quick, very athletic, would have been great. Whereas instead we see bits dig towards that, and we start to slowly take that path, and then we suddenly left and going, oh, how is this medication stopping her from becoming a wolf if she is one? Like, you're left with more questions.
I think that's it. I think if they were going to do it, then I would have more preferred sort of makeup akin to Wolf with Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
That also like Jack Pierce Werewolf of London sort of look, just the, you know, sort of the teeth, the eyes, and a little bit of extra fuzz, but nothing.
Yeah.
You know. But you know, like I said, seeing that I still enjoy it, and I, you know, it's coming down to recommendation. Would you recommend it?
It's difficult. For me, I would, but I'd recommend it for your. I think it's going to hit a certain type of audience. I think like a film like Where, it's very. I think it's very clever. I think it's more accepting, and people will be really happy with it. I think this. I think if like me and you were to recommend it to 10 people, I think we'd find half that would be like, "What have you? Why have I watched this?" Like kind of. Yeah, to me, it is a recommendation, but like kind of. It's not your classic werewolf film. It's probably, you know, you can be very loosely werewolf film, but yeah, go and watch it just for Greg Brick. Yeah, and yourself.
I'd recommend it. With me and my other half, we really enjoyed it. Not as much as Where, which I think is, you know, set a standard for modern werewolf films for me.
Yeah.
But it's enjoyable watch. It was a bit of a slow burn. Could, you know, like I say, could have done a little bit more character development, especially the secondary characters. But worth watching it for, like I said, for Greg Brick alone. I think he's fantastic in it. But yeah, brilliant. Excellent. Oh, thanks for that, mate. Yeah, I enjoyed that. So yeah, guys, go and watch it if you can. Let us know what you think. Be interested to see your thoughts in the comments. Is it too new age? Is it, you know, there's not enough? I was going to say bestiality, but that's not the right thing to say.
There's enough wearing the wolf.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks for saving that, mate. Yeah, is there enough wearing the wolf? Yeah, it's not Animal Farm. But yeah, so thanks a lot, guys. Let us know what you think. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, and yeah, we'll see you soon.